What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Cover 32. We're here for another episode, our first draft show of 2022. We got Sid, we got Jordan, and of course myself, Drew. We're going to get into the running backs today. Kind of profile these guys, let you know who you're looking at, who to be looking for next year, and of course, looking for on draft night. So let's get into it. All right, fellas, how's everybody doing? Jordan, how you doing, bro?
Living the dream, bro.
Sid, Doc.
Ready for the draft, baby.
Yeah, me
NFL
too,
off
bro.
season a little too long for me.
Yep, like it always is. So we're about 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. We're finally back into the show process, guys. I promise. We will stay
For real
at
this
least more,
time.
at least more consistent than we have been. Everybody got life going on, but we're gonna try to stick it in for you, stick it to you guys for real this time. So we're gonna profile five rookie running backs coming into the NFL draft tonight. And we're going to start with the number one guy. This is kind of the consensus guy that everybody has as the first running back off the board. First running back for dynasty and rookie drafts. And we're talking about the running back from Iowa State, Breece Hall. So Breece Hall played 3 seasons as a junior from 2019 to 2021. 6'1", 220-pound back, so pretty big, decent-sized running back. He's 20 years old now. Some of his stats from his junior year: ran for 1,500 yards, 20 touchdowns his last 2 seasons, actually, so excellent college production. And he's currently a potential late first round, early second round NFL draft pick. So, guys, whoever wants to start first, what are your first impressions when you watched either him play games last year or watched his highlights in his tape? What was your first impression of Breece Hall? Anybody can go.
Breece, to me, he's complete, and that's why I think he's consensus the number one back off the board, because the rest of these guys that we're going to talk about, they all have a little niche thing to them that they have to offer. But Breece does it all. He's decent in the receiving game. He's a good pass blocker. Obviously, he's a good runner of the rock. And he's kind of how would you say? I guess scheme proof. You can kind of put him into almost any scheme, and I can see him finding a way to flourish there. So watch him. When you sent us this and you had us started doing the grades, I find myself liking him a lot, even though he's the number one guy, blah blah blah. I'm supposed to like him. It was nice breaking it down as to why I like him. So first off, the first thing that jumped off the page for me was his speed. For a 6'1", 221, 20-pound back, run a 4.39. That's good speed, man. Yeah, and I don't even think that 4.39 translates to his tape, because he looks even faster in his tape. His game speed feels a lot more it's more like effective speed, opposed to just like straight away speed. So that was probably the first thing that jumped off the page for me.
Yeah. Sid, how you feel about Breece Hall? Anything that stood out to you or anything that came to mind?
Yeah, kind of like what Jordan said. Like, he's not potentially great at one thing, but he's really good at everything. And I was watching his tape. One of the first things I recognize is he's a finisher. So if he's within the 5-yard line, he finished. Like, he didn't come up short, but he also has the ability, to be your home run hitter. You know what I mean? Like, he has that, like Jordan just said, for a big back running a 4.3, he can get you a 75-yard touchdown, and he can get you a 5-yard touchdown. So I mean, going forward, like, you want that type of back for fantasy and obviously real life, but you want your running backs like a Derrick Henry, like someone that when they get to the goal line, they're gonna get 3 pushes at it. You know what I mean? You want 3 down. You want a 3 down back, and he runs really good routes. So definitely the most complete back I've seen in this class. I heard some like comparisons, probably like to like a prime Arian Foster, if y'all could remember that guy back then. That was
Yeah.
my boy.
Yep.
But I'm kind of hoping he goes to somewhere like the Bills, somewhere where he don't have to, where like I don't want him to have to carry a team like, for example, Leonard Fournette when he came into the league. I don't want him to drag a Blake Bortles all the way to, you know, a Super Bowl or whatever. Like his he has a lot of tread on his tires. Like he had over I think 800 carries at Iowa. That's the show. We already know the shelf life of a running back, man. It's not great. So I am hoping he goes to somewhere that's complete, that don't need him to come in and get a Najee type backfill role off the bat.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and you look at like all these 5 running backs that we're talking about. I really don't see any of these guys walking in and getting that kind of a workload. I really don't think any of these guys are that type of a running back. I think at best, most of these guys could be a 1A, 1B type of running back. And unfortunately, once you get lower in the list, they're probably more of a change of pace back. But so like I like that player comp of Arian Foster, Sid. I comped him as actually Matt Forte. I went and I thought about it and I went back and watched some Matt Forte. Yo, he has a lot of just like that, like you said, that punishing, finishing running style. Good receiver out of the backfield, not great. But that punishing kind of feel to him remind me a lot of Matt Forte.
Yeah, just a complete back.
Yeah, I thought it was good because when you scouting any players, actually, you want to see like when their production started in college. So like they gave him the keys basically as a freshman. They tried to at least, and he held his own as a freshman. And then sophomore year, if he was eligible, he could have came out in the draft and he would have been drafted after his sophomore season. Then he did it again, did the same exact thing with double-digit touchdowns in 22 years in a row. Like,
I just wish he came out.
You know he can do, you know what I mean? So, and he doesn't play in like a whack, conference in college football. Like he plays against good competition at Iowa State. So, like you guys said, like I don't think he's going to be an immediate workhorse. I just think he could be if a team needed him.
Right.
And I think, like you guys said, for landing spot, like the Bills would be great, because then they don't want Josh Allen to be running the ball as much as he does.
Exactly.
So bringing a guy like Breece Hall would then, of course, I think that pushes Zach Moss kind of out of the window. But actually, both of them got, like, that's just going to be, eventually it would turn into the Breece Hall show.
Yeah.
And then they do whatever they have to do with the receivers, and then that's good. So I think the Bills are probably the best landing spot for him. Another team I thought was good for him to land. It might sound weird, but I think the Jets would be a good landing spot too. Not that they're going to take him at 10 overall. That's 100% not happening. But in their second round pick, I could see Breece Hall going there and kind of doing that 1-2 punch that Jordan was mentioning with him and Michael Carter. And I think they would complement each other really well. You give Breece Hall first, second down, third down, or whatever the case may be, or first and second, and then throw in Michael Carter when you need to. And it could be a really effective 1-2 punch for real football and for fantasy. I think neither of they will balance each other off pretty good. So
I also thought he would be a good fit in New England, actually.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you got what, Ramondre Stevenson over there, and
Damian Harris.
Damian Harris, which Damian Harris, he's good when he's on the field. His injuries and everything. I wouldn't be opposed to having New England just kind of fresh start with a guy like Breece and just kind of like let him be that 1A, 1B with Damian Harris, turn Damian Harris more into like that third down running back. I think you can get a lot of effectiveness out of Breece if they were to do that.
Yeah, because they don't have a receiving back anymore. They got rid of Bolden, so they don't have that third down. And just like
they still got James White?
Nah.
Yeah.
Wait,
they do. They re-signed him. Mm-hmm.
They did. But he's another one that's always hurt.
Yeah. He's like 35, so it's like,
wow.
And I say bring in Breece. I mean, the Patriots are a team that have known to have 5 running backs on a roster.
Yeah.
Bring in Breece and let him start to develop and turn into that running back that you can feature next year. to next year, speaking 2023.
And I think he's good enough that he would separate him. Like, if I had to rank them right now, like right before even seeing Breece Hall play a snap in the NFL, I would probably take Breece Hall first, then Harris, I guess, and Ramondre Stevenson. Like, those two are pretty close, but I would still take Breece Hall. Like, he's just, and not just before we continue, this draft class is not a really strong running back class. So, you know what I mean? Like, in a couple other, like a 2020 class, Breece Hall would not be the one, like, be 3 or 4 or 5. Yeah. Excuse me, because there's a couple others. You had Swift, you had Jonathan Taylor, there's a couple dogs in that draft class. So, but yeah, New England. I didn't really think about that, Jordan. That was a good one. But yeah, he's definitely gonna start immediately somewhere, be a high level running back, and be able to contribute immediately as soon as he gets drafted. All right, good. So moving on to our second running back. This guy came on the scene out of nowhere last season. I consider myself somebody who follows college football pretty well. Mm-hmm. I didn't know where this dude came from. I said, who is this? We're talking about Michigan State's running back, Kenneth Walker. 5'10", 210 pounds, 21 years old, a junior from Michigan State. Last season ran for 1,636 yards and 18 touchdowns in his first year at Michigan State. So he was a transfer from what school? From Wake Forest. He was his freshman and sophomore year. Didn't do too well there, kind of splitting carries. They didn't really run that much. So he, wanted to transfer, ended up going to Michigan State and completely blew the top off of everybody's defense and ran over everybody. And, of course, in the Big Ten, you're playing against Ohio State, Michigan, Purdue. Like, you're playing against a lot of really good competition. He has round 2 draft capital right now. Of course, most of these backs are going to not be first round. Ran a 4.38 at the combine, 34-inch vertical, broad jump of 122. Just a really explosive running back. I think he has real good straightaway speed, but I'll give my my opinion after. But Sid, what was your first impression watching Kenneth Walker? What do you think of him as a player?
He's just he's my type of running back, bro. Like, he's a no nonsense running back. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not. I'm not gonna say he has the prettiest game, but I like aerodynamic running backs. He hits the hole, he runs straight through, he's not afraid of contact. Like, you want in real life, I think he's gonna actually have maybe even more of an impact than Breece Hall. And obviously with these running backs, it's all gonna be situational, like which teams they go to. Like with Kenneth Walker, I would love him to go to Atlanta, because Atlanta is missing physical, like they don't have a physical prowess on them. Like when you think of San Fran, you think, oh man, we're about to get run over, hard to tackle. Like nobody wants to play them. Atlanta hasn't been like that, and so like they need someone like Kenneth Walker. He's like a culture changer. Like he's gonna get in there with his head down to run a 4.3 at 5'10", 2. Like.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that out of him at the combine, bro. I was not expecting Kenneth Walker to run 4.38. I said, what?
I like that. Like he don't dance like in the backfield or nothing. Like give me the ball,
one cut and he's gone.
Just gone. Like, and the only downside I'll talk about real quick with him is that he doesn't have a lot of experience in pass protection, and obviously, like in fantasy, the fantasy implications for that is it doesn't seem like a lot, but it does, because if you can't pass protect, you're not going to be on the field as much as you need to be to actually have an impact on the game. It lowers your carries, everything like that. And you got someone like, let's just say he went to the Falcons, Cordell Patterson, big physical guy, not afraid to do it. You want your running back to be on the field. That's like opportunity, volume is everything. So, I mean, that's something he can learn. And he's a physical specimen, so I'm not really too like, he'll have camps and stuff like that. I just hope that's one thing that only drew me off a little bit. But as far as pure running backs, he's my favorite in this draft.
Jordan, what do you think about Kenneth Walker when you watch this tape?
I am completely with Sid. That's my RB1. But the only thing that I think separates Brees from Kenneth Walker is what I said earlier, is that Brees was a more complete back. Kenneth Walker isn't as good of a receiver out of the backfield. Right. If he was, oh my goodness, that's your RB1, like no doubt about it. But my argument, like, you know, I feel like the age-old argument when it comes like the Cleveland Brown running backs is you either like Kareem Hunt or you either like Nick Chubb. I'm camp team Nick Chubb, and that's what I kind of see out of Kenneth Walker. Like Sid said, he's a no-nonsense. He's a downhill runner. And he's doing his job. He's getting the yards. That's it. Yeah. You know, whatever it takes to get those yards. He's a very strong back. That was one thing that stood out to me too. Yep. I saw some reports that he was a monster in the weight room also. Yep.
I heard that too. Yeah.
You know, those things all go hand in hand with the play style. I definitely think he is the best running back in this class. But like I said, Brees got the edge because he's a better receiver, better at pass protection. So it was funny with him being such a power back. My player comp sounds a little off, but also when I watched him, he reminded me a lot of Shady McCoy. You know, that put your foot in the ground, make one cut, and make a difference. That Kenneth Walker has. You know, he has great vision. Out of a scale of 10, I gave him a 9.5 when it came to
his vision's crazy. Yeah,
because he sees everything happening. He puts his foot in the ground and he goes. He doesn't dance. Whereas I probably prefer Kenneth Walker's style a little bit more than LaShawn McCoy, because LaShawn tended to dance a little bit more than he needed to.
Football out here.
You know what I mean? But Kenneth, Sid hit it on the nail, bro. No nonsense is probably the best way to describe him.
Yeah, I freaking love Kenneth Walker, bro. Like I still haven't come down to a decision of who my RB1 is, because realistically, these three guys, I just every other day I'm like, no, I kind of like him a little better today. Like it's really tough. But Kenneth Walker, just I think for me at least, because he got so much random exposure last year. Like last year, I already knew, like kind of in my head, like okay, 2022 has Breece Hall and Isaiah Spiller, who we'll talk about. But those are just the two guys. Everybody else was kind of there. And then Kenneth Walker just came out of nowhere. And he was always on the highlight. Oh, here's Kenneth Walker from blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's taking a 60-yard. And it's just like explosive play, just running up. Like he ran one touchdown and dapped up his boy as he was running down.
That was lit.
I'm like, yo, like this dude. Yeah, he has like, it's kind of like an intangible, but he just looks like he has it at the next level. Like he can jump in and just like, he's not the most complete, but it might not matter. And for him being at Michigan State, their offense doesn't, or at least last year, didn't really play into throwing the ball to the running back. So he doesn't have a whole bunch of receiving prowess in his collegiate career, but we really don't know if he can or can't catch. Right. At the combine, it seemed like he could catch, you know what I mean, when they're doing throwing drills. So that's what we're going off of. It's just, I think we literally saw it on the field from Breece Hall, and that's why consensus was to put him over Kenneth Walker. But it's, in my opinion, it's really close between them two. And like Sid said, it really depends on landing spot for these guys. But I'm a big fan of KW9 as they call him. So definitely a good running back. Okay, so the third guy, which I just mentioned, running back out of Texas A&M, so another big high profile school, Isaiah Spiller, 6'1", 215-pound back, 1,000-yard back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and nearly 1,000 yards as a freshman, 20 catches all three of those seasons. Of course, draft capital around second round, third round. He did have an injury, but he did a pro day. So his pro day numbers, which I feel like a lot of people are kind of dropping him down their boards because of these numbers, ran a 4.6, which, I mean, compared to Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, of course, it's a tick slower. 33-inch vertical, 114-inch broad jump. But I'll go first on Isaiah Spiller, bro. This is my favorite runner of the three running backs. And I say this just because he might have the best vision, I think, personally. and his cutting ability is insane. Like his footwork is stupid. Like I know Breece Hall can't cut like Isaiah Spiller. That is a given. Like I already know he can't do that. Like he doesn't even dance too much. He makes the exact moves he needs to make, and then he's gone, pushes somebody out of the way, and he's gone. Like I love Isaiah Spiller's running style.
Mm-hmm.
Is he? I don't know, because so they had this other running back there with Isaiah Spiller. I can't remember his first name, but his last name is A-Chain, and he's also a high-profile running back coming to Texas A&M. So his sophomore and junior season, he had this other running back who's going to be probably one of the guys we're talking about on next year's rookie profile. Like, is another really good high-profile running back. So the fact that he had this type of production with A-Chain being the second running back is even more impressive to me, that he was still able to rattle off 2,000-yard seasons with 20 catches, double-digit touchdowns. It's just that injury and that pro day, not going to the combine, doing your own pro, that does drop your NFL draft capital. Like GMs are just going to look at it a little bit differently. And when you run not that slow, but compared to the other guys ahead of you, it's just, it's going to drop them a little bit. But how you guys feel on Isaiah Spiller?
So I like him a lot. I like Isaiah Spiller, and he's one of the backs that came in my mind when I first said that, like, the rest of these backs they all have a niche thing to them. And I think Isaiah Spiller's niche thing is he is the best receiving back probably in this entire class. That boy catches like a receiver. And so that, I think, is gonna award him the role as a third down back somewhere. I rate when I did the grades, obviously with his speed, I have to grade. It was a 4.63. He does not run a 4.63 in film, right. But I still had to give it a little knockdown because he is a little bit slower than the guy. So I gave him a 7. Power and explosiveness. So I gave him an 8.5 because I feel like power, he might not be there, but that explosiveness, like that, he comes out of that cut very powerful. So I like that a lot from him. So my player comparison actually for him, he reminded me a lot of Devontae Freeman, like OG Devontae Freeman, a bigger back who's a great receiver who can play a little bit of bully ball. And Devontae Freeman had a good career. He still has a career. So it's not to say that Isaiah Spiller can't be a 3-down back somewhere. I just think his niche thing is his receiving ability, which will get him on a roster somewhere. And it's going to be up to him to earn the rest of those carries that I do think he can handle.
Sid, how you feel about Isaiah Spiller?
I like him a lot.
Third back for you? And
he's definitely number 3 for me. I like him a lot, actually. I didn't really care about the 4.6 speed. Like pro days, I feel like pro day and combine hurts players more than it helps most times. I mean, it is good. We do need it, but I'm more concerned with film, as what Jordan said. And he doesn't have like the long speed, like, the home run hit like Breece Hall. But I like that he can break tackles. He's not afraid of contact. And like Jordan said, for fantasy and for in real life, I need my running back to catch the football, and he runs the best. Not only does he run the best routes of this class, he catches the ball the best of this class. I comped him too. Now, I'm not disrespecting him because I like him. I actually like this running back too. To me, he's a better Rashad Penny. Like, he's what Pete Carroll and them thought Rashad Penny was going to be like
when they drafted him.
Exactly. Like, he's a more explosive, more dynamic Rashad Penny. Like, he's best cutting ability I've seen. Like, just Devontae Freeman. Like, remember how Devontae Freeman used to be able to split 2 defenders with 1 cut? Like, that's exactly how I feel about him. I would like to see him go somewhere like the Texans, where he can have some immediate impact, out of the backfield. But also, they signed Marlon Mack, so he's not gonna have to. He doesn't have to be the bulldog there. He doesn't have to carry every carry, but he would be a good complement to Marlon Mack's not that great. He's not a receiving back. He's a downhill guy. Like, I like to see him go somewhere there. Like, that's good for real life, and that's good for fantasy. Like these
Yeah.
with these fantasy drafts coming up in dynasty and redraft, you want the Texans and the Falcons to get somebody because they are automatically stepping in to a volume role, and volume's king.
Right. Yeah, that was the first two spots I had. Was I like Isaiah Spiller in Atlanta a little bit better actually.
Yeah, that was mine.
Than Houston, just
Either
because
one.
you know we don't know. We really don't know what we're looking at with Houston. Atlanta, at least we know at some point they're going to get a high profile rookie running back, and their team, and they have Kyle Pitts. They're going to draft a receiver. Like their offense just looks like it's going to shape up to be something more special than what Houston looks like they're doing currently.
The only reason I even picked Houston is because the running backs in Atlanta, like I love Cordell Patterson. I don't think he's going to be able to do that again.
No,
Mike Davis, he has no gas left. I don't want Isaiah Spiller to go there and be like, all right, bro, we're giving it to you. It's 3rd and 12. Like, please do something. Like, I want, like, at least with Marlon Mack gives me enough confidence that if he can at least carry the first couple, like Isaiah Spiller don't have to come there and just automatically carry the team. Like, I feel like whoever goes to the Falcons, which is kind of why I want someone like Kenneth Murray to go there. They're going to be asked to do what Leonard Fournette did back in the Jag days when he had to. He literally dragged Blake Bortles to an AFC championship. Yeah. I don't want that for any of these backs. I know
he might go to Houston, though, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure they called him already, so I mean, he might go to Houston. You never know, but but honestly, like, if you put a gun to my head, I'm putting Isaiah Spiller 3rd.
I would like him to go to.
Depending on like, obviously, I don't know, bro. If he goes to Atlanta, I might, and then the other two kind of go in random spots I'm not crazy about. I might like Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
It sucks. I mean, honestly, for any running back that has what they're being asked to do in Atlanta or even the Texans is, I mean, at least the Texans have a better offensive line. Like,
it's like, okay, so like redraft. We're about to be done with the 4th guy, but like. Say we're only talking draft right now. Walker goes to the Jets, and say Isaiah Spiller goes to the Falcons. Who goes off the board first?
Isaiah. The volume.
Yeah, it's Isaiah, right?
The volume's there, and the receiving work is there.
Yeah,
right. So for redraft, keep an eye on Isaiah Spiller because that's one of the popular landing spots for a guy like him. Not saying he's the best back because we think Breece and Kenneth Walker have more to offer. But sometimes fantasy volume. There's a whole bunch of guys that are really not that good, but they get the ball enough because of what offense they're in. So, all right, good. So, last two guys, we got the White brothers. We'll start with
White bros.
Our 4th running back, Rashad White out of Arizona State. Another big running back, 6'2", 210 pounds, 23 years old, so a little bit on the older side for rookie running back. Coming out after his senior year, rushed for 1,000 yards. His junior year is cut short. Only played 4 games because of COVID-19. Middle round 3, beginning of round 4 type of draft capital currently. Combine numbers pretty good. Ran a 4.48, 38-inch vertical, which is pretty good, and a broad jump of 125. When I first watched, I'll take this one first too. When I first watched Rashad White, he runs really hard, like, and it's not really smooth. It's not nearly as smooth as the other 3 that we talked about, but he could get it done. I think when he goes to the next level, he's going to be in a committee, like, regardless, just because how the landscape of the NFL is right now. Anyways, I don't think he's gonna go anywhere and be somebody's bell cow. Like, nobody really runs bell cow offenses like that unless you have a Derrick Henry, a Dalvin Cook type guy, like a Najee. Like, you don't know. There's not a whole bunch of those type of running backs, and offenses kind of like to do a change of pace because of the shelf life. But Rashad White, he kind of reminds me. He's not as like thick and slow as Ramondre Stevenson, but he kind of reminds me of that type of guy. And he could catch it much better than Ramondre Stevenson too. But yeah, he's tall, he's strong. He's gonna get a whole bunch of goal line work wherever he goes, but he's more of a committee guy. I think, but I don't know. Depending on landing spot, he could be a decent play in fantasy. What are you guys' opinion on Rashad White? Jordan, you go first.
So Rashad White is actually probably out of the 5 guys the guy I like the least.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate him. I just think that from the first 3 guys, they're in a tier, and then there's a big drop.
There's a huge drop.
These 2 guys. You know, like it's a cliff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what made me appreciate the other 3 guys was watching, Rashad White. Rashad White, he's very, very patient with when he decides to put his foot in the ground and make a cut. I almost would go as far as saying he's too patient, whereas he's looking for the most perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
So he waits and waits and waits for that perfect opportunity, but then that opportunity doesn't ever happen. Right. And it's a tackle for loss. But then, like I said, we see that that running style of the patient running back. Levy kind of coined that can work. I just don't think with the athleticism of the NFL linebackers today, I just don't think that works the same anymore. And I think he is a good running back. I think at the collegiate level, he definitely found his success, and he would find it at the collegiate level. I just don't see it translating in the NFL. He's going to go against a guy like Darius Leonard, and some of these other extremely fast linebackers. Be patient all you want. They're going to close all of those gaps. And, sometimes you want to just kind of be a bat out of hell and hit something, find one of those holes and just hit it, because maybe you get lucky and somebody gets a weird block and you break it for 10 yards. But I watched a little bit extra tape on him, and there was too many times that I saw where his patience led to him getting nothing. I wish made me kind of appreciate Levy a little bit more. Levy, that boy, he did it right. But I don't think he's bad. I just think that his skill set isn't going to translate well at the NFL level.
Right. And it's just crazy that this is not, of course, we're talking about running backs, but you can see how watered down this class for running backs is. Like, it just not to say that Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, or whoever are not really good and could be stars at the next level. It's just like Jordan says, it's a very steep cliff once you get past a certain. It's like Hall and what's it, Walker, like right here. Yep. There you go, Breece Hall. I mean, then Spiller's right here, and then the rest of it's just.
It's like, dang, hey, you down there?
Hello. Sid, what did you think about when you watched Rashad White?
I think you hit the nail on the head, bro. I think he's just gonna get the job done. He that dude that just show up and just he gonna do it. Like, I mean, he's not gonna jump off the page. He's not gonna like wow you. He like, all right, yeah, he got the first down for us. Good job, Rashad. Like, he comps to like a little bit better Jordan Wilkins. Like, and when you seen, but listen, it's not just like when Jordan Wilkins when Nyheim Hines was hurt and Marlon Mack was hurt, Jordan Wilkins was productive, but you cannot remember one play that this man ran. 3 yards here, 3.5 yards here, 4 yards here, 1 yard touchdown.
What do you do to get the 4 yards? I don't know.
That's what I mean. Like, he's going to be productive. He is going to get yards for you, but he is not like. You cannot ask him to fill any type of role right now. Like, I would like to see him go somewhere like either the Cardinals or the Chiefs, like somewhere that he don't need to, like, his number don't need to be called at any given time. Like, relief back.
Please don't call him.
I said Chicago.
Perfect.
That would be bad. Yep.
With like Tariq Cohen and not knowing what's going on with him. Like, I think a guy like him would be a good change of pace back for David Montgomery.
I saw this comp earlier too. I was watching some stuff on him doing like film grade and stuff. And a couple guys actually on Twitter said he kind of reminds them of Marion Barber from the Cowboys. So I said, now hold on, bro, because I'm a Cowboys fan, as y'all know. That is kind of disrespectful to Marion Barber, because
I see Marion Barber Zamir's like
that's what I said. I count Zamir as
yeah,
Marion
nah.
Barber.
They had the wrong White. They had the wrong White.
Yeah, they must.
Because Marion was more of a bully, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I didn't agree with it. Is what I was about to say. Like, I was like, Marion Barber, like you must have had the wrong. But I looked, bro. That's immediately what I was thinking too. I was like, y'all might have messed up on these couple.
It
of
was
tweets
just
right
confused.
Here,
that's all.
I was like, yeah, they saw the dreads and said, yeah, he looked like Marion Barber.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, he's just kind of too slow. He's not. I wouldn't even say like LeGarrette Blount because he's not that big, but he just kind of sits and waits. And I think this draft capital is where it is because of his production at Arizona State. Like, and if you think about a school like Arizona State, like they don't get a whole bunch of high profile prospects coming out of high school to go to Arizona State. Yeah. And whatever conference they're in, you don't ever see Arizona State ranked on the top 25 during the college season. You know, it's not a very high profile school for football. So when that happens and you see a guy like Rashad White, they usually give him the ball a lot because he's the best athlete on the team. He's the best player. So you just figure it out with Rashad White's our guy. He's the best player on the team. Just give it to him. So sometimes that translates, and of course that'll help his draft capital, but that doesn't mean it's going to translate to the NFL just because you're the best guy on your college team. If you're the best guy in Alabama, that's a different story, of course. But Arizona State, I don't know. So Rashad White, not going to be somebody we're going to be looking into too much, but we'll move on to Zamir now, as we all agree that already his comp should be Marion Barber, not Rashad White. So running back out of Georgia, 6 feet, 215 pounds, 22-year-old running back, split carries with Dalvin Cook's little brother, James Cook, who's also coming out in this draft class. Didn't have a 1,000-yard season in any of his seasons, which looking at it on paper, that doesn't sound great. But again, you're at Georgia. You probably got 3 or 4 other 4 or 5 star running backs behind you, just waiting to get playing time. Freshman, sophomore, whatever the case may be. But he had a really good combine that I don't think a lot of NFL teams or guys like us were expecting Zeus White to have. 4.4 combine, 40-yard dash, 33.5-inch vertical, and his broad jump was 128. And he was an elite high school prospect. So I think he was like the 4th or 5th best running back in high school coming out. And of course, if you get a scholarship offer from Georgia, you know what you're doing on a football field. So so what do you guys think of Zamir White? Other than, let's try to break it down a little bit more than, obviously we all think Marion Barber would be his comp, but what did you like most about his tape, or what didn't you like?
Yeah, so when I looked at Zamir White, I just saw like such a high motor. It's probably the first thing that like jumped off the page to me. He doesn't have all the skill set that the other top 3 guys has. He wasn't gifted in that department, but he has such a high motor. He's definitely going to be a great teammate wherever he goes. And I think a best fit for him is not going to be a 3-down role anywhere, but to be that guy, that change of pace back, and he will be exhausting to try to follow, to try to tackle. He runs hard with good power. He ran a 4.40, so he's got good speed. And honestly, like watching his tape, that he ran better than a 4.40. He doesn't have
he's fast. Speed. He's fast.
He's got that explosiveness to him. So I would definitely say, he goes to a place where, like, I mean, even if so my landing spot for him was Atlanta, and where I saw things happening was, Mike Davis still kind of is the 1A. Cordell Patterson is still kind of working his way in there. But then you bring in Zamir White, and that just is like that third punch in the mouth to a defense. And that's exhausting, to try to keep up with all game. I like him a lot. I just, unfortunately, like you said, with the scope of how the running back situation is in the NFL, there's no places for him to go and be a true 1A anywhere. I definitely think he's going to be more of a 3rd down back.
Yeah. Sid, how you feel about Zamir White?
Honestly, I kind of feel like he can end up being like the steal of the running back draft class, and mostly it's because of, like the intangibles that Jordan was mentioning. Like he's a weight room freak, and he's just a good teammate. He eats contact for breakfast. Like it's like like amazing at like breaking tackles. I think he would have actually been a lot higher on this list if it wasn't for his history, like his injury history, because he did tear both. He tore both ACLs back-to-back seasons. So obviously that's something you got to watch for, especially as a running back. But I think Frank Gore had those same, like he tore both his ACLs in college as well. I mean, he's probably had the longest career, most productive career of a running back history.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's not an end all be all for him. I think for what his capital is right now, I think he's a steal. I think he's someone that you would actually want on your team and your running back room. So yeah, that Mary. You know how Mary? I mean, you're a Cowboy fan, man. Marion.
Yeah, Barber, I remember that.
He's besides Emmitt Smith, he was my favorite Dallas running back of all time, and he just runs tenacious. Like you can't teach that. Like you could just tell when you look at Jumeirah run, you can tell he loves football. Like he loves. He's a football player
as he's running.
Exactly. That is a bona fide running back football player.
That's a football player.
Yeah. He loves the game. A team I think that I liked, and I saw it once and like read it, and I was like, I don't know. And the more I thought about it, and this might be a little bit like kind of in the future. Of course, he's gonna be a rookie, but I think the Saints would be a really good landing spot for Jumeirah White because at some point, whether he gets arrested or not, Alvin Kamara at some point is gonna, because it's a running back, the shelf life is not obviously not as long as wide receiver, quarterback, most other positions. They don't have like that. Tony Jones Jr., that's the running back behind. No, I held him on my dynasty team for like 6 months.
I thought so, and then he said nah.
But he's not it.
I'm not that guy. He said
he's just not that guy. They got Ingram back, but that's not going to be a thing either. Like come on, that ship has sailed. I think they do need to start looking at drafting another running back. And I don't think they should go after one of these higher profile guys because you still have Alvin Kamara there. You're not going to be, doing a 1-2 punch with any of those guys at this point. But you could move on. And I think that would be a decent spot for that type of offense, depending on, who their long-term quarterback is or whatever, and just where he's going to fall into the draft. I think the Saints would take a flyer on a guy like Jumeirah White at least. So those are our top 5. We got Breece Hall at 1, Kenneth Walker at 2, Isaiah Spiller, Rashad White, and Jumeirah White. Of course, there's other guys that we could talk about, but we're just going to keep to the top 5 that we should be, looking out for the draft weekend, and then any type of fantasy value. These 5 guys should have at least a little bit, whether you play redraft, dynasty, you got a rookie rookie draft coming up. These are the guys that we think y'all should be paying attention to. So that is it for our rookie running back show for 2022. We will catch you guys on the next show. We're going to be covering the wide receivers, our top 5 wide receivers. This is going to be one of my favorite episodes, of course, but we will get to that. And then later on, we're going to look at the quarterbacks too as well. Tight ends is only like 2 of them, so we probably won't cover them guys. But we'll be back for another episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Cover32 Show, our Twitter handle at Cover_32, and of course on YouTube at Cover32. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.